all humans have this programming, but women get hit extra hard because at the same time they're losing the superoxide dismutase, which everybody loses, they're also losing estrogen. And estrogen acts as an antioxidant in the mitochondria.
Yep.
And because your brain has the most mitochondria per cell, 2 million, and I can give you the scientific references for that, people know that depression and Alzheimer's and dementia are more prevalent in women, and that's because women are getting hit harder. Their mitochondria are damaged more frequently than men because of the loss of estrogen. And so because you don't have that protection of the estrogen anymore. So
and
I know we're moving all over the place here, but it's good. Yeah.
It's like, why does it happen and what can we do about it? I think you're living proof that there's something to this.
There's something happening.
Yeah, exactly. Like your brain, you have all this stuff just sitting in your head, and that's pretty unusual.
So you were asking me again about in the cell, the mitochondria, how we have all this hydrogen peroxide. So we'll go back to the electron transport chain where all this activity is occurring, where you get the production of the ATP and the byproduct of the free radicals. And just to help people to understand what this electron transport chain is, it's molecules. There's 4 molecules that are embedded in the inner membrane of the mitochondria. Okay. And the way that the energy is actually created is very similar to what you would see in a relay race. Everyone's seen a relay race where you have the runner and they pass a baton to the next runner who passes it to the next runner, and they try to cross the finish line first. Well, in the electron transport chain, instead of runners, you have these protein molecules. And instead of passing a baton, they pass an electron. Okay. So, and instead of crossing the finish line, the goal is to get to this final stage, which is called cytochrome C oxidase, where we'll talk about this because you need oxygen and that's when ATP is produced. So as long as the electrons are passed, like in a race, from one molecule, from one of the proteins, you get ATP. But here's what happens. When you start to have too many free radicals, which occur from a variety of reasons, stress, EMFs, toxins, the electron transport chain, where the molecules are supposed to be close to one another, they cause damage. And so when the mitochondria get damaged, it expands. And when it expands, those runners, the molecule, get further and further and further apart from one another. So 2 things happen. Just like in a relay race, if you can't get up to the next runner, you can't pass the baton. In the electron transport chain, when the molecules are farther apart from one another, they can't pass the electron. So they leak out. They can't make the pass. It's like Tom Brady couldn't make the pass. So 2 things happen. Now you have less energy because the electron couldn't make the disc couldn't make the pass. And those electrons don't just disappear. They turn into free radicals, which damages the mitochondria even more, which causes the expansion even more, which reduces the ATP even more. Then eventually the mitochondria explodes. It's called necrosis. And all those free radicals, all of the stuff that was in there spreads to the next mitochondria, spreads to the next cell. This is why you have accelerated aging. This is how you get chronic disease. Wow. And it's all because the mitochondria, the electron transport chain, it starts to expand. They can't close the loop to get the electron across. Doesn't disappear. Free radicals, free radicals, free radicals.
You've got a couple really important points in there. When mitochondria die or fragment, mitochondrial fragments and extracellular ATP, which happens as a result of that, well, the other mitochondria, they're all a community.
Oh, I know. I say, hey, what's going over there, bro? Yeah. Hey, don't spread your stuff over here, but it does.
Yeah, and it would be like if we're driving down the expressway and like a human leg hits your windshield. You're like, like what is going on? From a mitochondria perspective, like a piece of another one of us just hit me in the forehead. And it's not a good thing.
It's not a good thing.
It creates cellular stress, and then all the other mitochondria, instead of focusing on energy production, they're going to go into an inflammatory state. And there's evidence that supports this.
Yeah.
So you realize I'm managing a community of hundreds of billions of ancient bacteria floating around inside the body, and they're all talking to each other long before I get to think about it.
Yeah.
And the other thing that you talk about, which no one talks about, is the effect of the size of the cell. So the swelling of cells, something happens when you fly or things like that. And this isn't just like you're getting muffin top, which can just be water outside of cells. This is the cell itself expanding.
Right.
So mitochondria is making electricity. We have this electron transport chain. I view it as a wire. And it works right. It's just carrying electricity.
Exactly.
But when the insulation on the wire frays, it's like you've got this cord in your bathroom.
It's like having shocks, electrical.
Yeah. And now there's leaks. So now the electricity is getting out in the water on the floor but it's not getting to your hairdryer.
Right.
So we have these leaks, and those leaks are causing problems.
It's like fire.
Yeah. And every leak creates more fraying of the insulation on this. It's not really a wire, but you can visualize it that way. So we have this double problem.
Yeah.
One is, we're losing electrons, but
and you're losing energy.
We're losing energy, but there's something else that comes out of my time as a computer hacker network engineer. So it's not like the electron just moves like slowly from one to the other. Electrons bounce.
Yeah.
They go back and forth millions of times a second. So you're thinking, okay, my mitochondria was this big, and it's only 10% bigger. But 10% bigger times a million vibrations back and forth, that actually adds huge amounts of what we call latency. So gamers know what I'm talking about, right? So if your bandwidth has low latency, it gets there quickly. You can have high bandwidth and you can have high latency, and it just takes forever and your calls are jittery. And that's because of that lag time. Yeah. So cell swelling equals lag time in mitochondria, and a small amount of swelling is a huge decrease in efficiency of the system. And what did we say at the beginning? In aging, 48% of people under age 40 have early onset mitochondrial insufficiency. That is it. It's mitochondrial fragmentation and swelling of mitochondria.
100% over the age of 40 have mitochondrial dysfunction.
And then we get this swelling, get the free radical production.
Right.
And what you're saying is you can use algae, you can use energy bits in order to manage that insulation on the wire so that you repair it. And if some electrons leak, they don't do any damage. And over time, the body has enough energy to fix them.
Yeah.
Okay. What are the components of algae that do that?
So the most important one is this antioxidant called superoxide dismutase, which is the one that would, when you have all that excess free radicals, normally before the age of 30 says, there's too many free radicals here, but we're covered because we're going to convert them into oxygen and water. Although there's an intermediary stage where it's converted into hydrogen peroxide. So you've got the superoxide dismutase taking the free radical, the superoxide, which is very damaging, converts it into oxygen and hydrogen peroxide. And then there's another step. The hydrogen peroxide needs glutathione to then be converted to H2O. So now you have this very damaging free radical converted ultimately to oxygen and water because of the superoxide dismutase. Problem solved. So it's like having that big golf umbrella up. And I mentioned the glutathione because glutathione is a master antioxidant. And in other parts of your cells, you could use catalase to convert the hydrogen peroxide into water. But no mitochondria have catalase except the liver and your heart. So the vast majority of your mitochondria rely on glutathione to convert that hydrogen peroxide into water. And algae has the highest concentration of it.
So algae's got the highest concentration. And some people have heard of catalase because the formulas you can buy for topical hair use to reverse graying usually have catalase in them, or sometimes orally, because hydrogen peroxide is a part of this. So it sounds complex, but it's not that it's not that hard to understand if you think about it. Okay, you have these leaking electrons. Those are free radicals. And the body says, oh no, I need SOD. So it makes SOD. And the SOD turns it into peroxide, which unfortunately is also pro-oxidant.
Not as bad, but still pro-oxidant. Yep.
And then you need glutathione for that step.
To bring it, to neutralize it even further to oxygen. Okay. But it's even more complicated. And this is why nature and the body are just so fascinating to me. I've turned into a total geek late in my life, and I am so in the rabbit hole. And I want to help other people understand the outcome of my rabbit hole without having to go down there themselves. So here's where it gets even more complicated. So SOD is found in three parts of around the cell. One is outside the cell, one is inside, what's called cytoplasm, and the third one is inside the mitochondria itself.
So are these different types of SOD?
It's one type of SOD, but it has what's called a cofactor, and the cofactor is different in the different areas, and which means it needs this other thing to turn on, to work.
Okay, so tell me the three places the SOD are in the body again.
The extracellular, which is outside the cell, intercellular,
Inside the cell.
Inside the cell and inside the mitochondria.
And they do different things in each location.
Yes.
Okay, that's cool.
Yes. So the one, and they've done tests because the one that's inside the mitochondria requires manganese. The other two require copper and zinc. They've done all these lab tests to find out with mice and whatever, if you reduce the SOD, they're called 1 and 3 that are outside the cell and inside the mice will still live. No real, they're not doing great, but they don't die. You pull out the SOD in the mitochondria that requires the manganese, they die within hours. You cannot live without, and the SOD will not work properly without the manganese. Algae has the highest, is the daily requirement. There's not technically an RDA, but the recommended amount is the amount that's in the algae. In fact, chlorella has twice the amount. Now, why is the manganese so important? Because if the manganese is not there to be the cofactor with the SOD goes, well, you don't have any manganese. I'm going to grab something else. I'm going to grab iron. It grabs iron, and then it becomes pro-inflammatory. So you need to have manganese with your SOD. Of course, SOD is the highest concentration is in algae. You need manganese, highest concentration in algae. So it will work to reduce the free radical to the hydrogen peroxide, which then needs glutathione, which, by the way, is also in the algae. See how beautiful it is? Mother Nature has put all these components together. So maybe you're taking it for the manganese, but you're also getting the superoxide dismutase. Or maybe you're taking the superoxide, but you're also getting excess protein. Or maybe you're taking it for your skin improvement because it will, has more collagen and protects the elastin because it has K2 that moves excess calcium. It doesn't matter what you do with algae. You may take it for one reason, but it will give you so many other benefits. But that was one I've never really thought of before. So
super cool.
But it is interesting to think because the body's the mitochondria, they're working and they're talking to one another. And if they don't have enough manganese, they're going to, like you said, they're going to grab the iron, which is then going to start rusting you from the inside. And so you need to have that. Otherwise, you're not going to get the full benefit and you'll just end up with more. You won't get the reduction of the superoxide at all because it becomes pro-inflammatory in its own right.